Let me take you straight into the thick of it. Imagine this. You're staring down the biggest meeting of your career. The clock's ticking. Your translators just sent you a text from the ER with food poisoning, and your entire company hundreds of livelihoods. Years of sacrifice hangs on a thread so thin it feels like it'll snap before you can even blink. That was me, Michael Harrison, CEO on the 42nd floor of Manhattan skyscraper. Hands shaking, reading the worst text I could possibly get. No backup, no options, and two French power brokers with an $800 million fund scheduled to walk in and judge everything I've built in less than 2 hours. Yeah, that happened. Now, I don't know if you've ever felt the city spinning outside your window while your own world collapses inside, but I was right there, trying not to show the panic. Rachel, my rock-solid assistant, was white as a sheet. She'd called every agency, every freelance French major, every consulate in a 50-mile radius. The answer was always no. My mind was racing. Cancel and look weak, or gamble it all and hope for a miracle. You know what I mean? The universe didn't care that I'd spent 18 months chasing this deal, perfecting my pitch, building software that could save thousands of lives. It just wanted to watch me squirm. But then, in that exact moment when it felt like every door was slamming shut, I heard this faint humming kid song French, Frère Jacques, echoing down the marble corridor. At first, I thought I was losing it. But there she was, this little girl, 7 at the oldest, sitting cross-legged beside a janitor's cart, arranging cleaning bottles with a care that would make you think she was prepping for surgery, not mopping floors. She was singing in perfect French. I mean, perfect pronunciation, rhythm, everything. I crouched down, tried not to scare her, and just asked her name. Sophie Rodriguez, she said, all shy smiles and eyes that saw straight through me, like she was reading my whole story in one glance. Turns out, her father was our maintenance man, fixing the electrical in the basement. And her mom, from Quebec, taught her French from birth until she passed away a couple years back. Sophie's been keeping up with cartoons and an old neighbor who used to work in Paris. I'll tell you, I felt hope crackle through me for the first time all morning. Desperation makes you reckless, so I explained the stakes, told her the whole truth. I needed someone to translate the biggest meeting of my life, or this company, this family, everything would go under. You ever see a kid straighten up like they've just been given a superhero cape? That's what she did. She looked me right in the eye and said, "Don't worry, Mr. Harrison. Mama always told me helping others was the greatest treasure." And just like that, she was in. Rachel brought out contracts, legalese, business lingo. Sophie read every page like it was a bedtime story. Her mother had worked at a bank. They played word games with business magazines. By now, Rachel and I were both starting to believe the universe hadn't given up on us after all. But fear doesn't just melt away, does it? I sat Sophie down and told her what was on the line: jobs, dreams, all hinging on this meeting. She squeezed my hand and said, "It's okay to be afraid, Mr. Harrison. Mama told me fear just means something matters a lot." And when those elevator doors slid open and the French investors swept in, all cold suits and sharper stares, I felt every insecurity I'd ever had trying to take over. But Sophie? She stepped up, introduced herself in flawless French, asked about their flight, their comfort, their needs, sounding for all the world like a seasoned ambassador. I wish I could describe the look on their faces one moment, dismissive and almost angry that a child was in the room. The next, genuinely stunned. They started rapid-fire French between themselves, didn't even realize she understood every word. She just smiled at me and quietly relayed, "Mr. Lauren thinks my accent is better than any translator he's had." That moment right there flipped the whole meeting. The air changed. I saw something soften in Thema's spark, a curiosity that had nothing to do with numbers. We launched into the pitch. I explained the AI software, how it could catch diseases 40 times faster, how it could save lives across Europe, and Sophie translated every word, breaking down the jargon, making the text sound human. She even added, unscripted, "If doctors had found my mama's sickness sooner, maybe she'd still be here." You could have heard a pin drop. No speech I'd rehearsed could ever match that. But business is business. After an hour, the questions got tougher, colder. Funding, risk, ownership. They offered $50 million, wanted 40% control. My heart sank. That was a death sentence losing the company, the mission, my life's work. And just as I was about to fold, Sophie raised her hand. May I ask you a personal question? She asked them if, when they were young, they ever had a dream that scared them. If they'd ever fought to make it real, to help others. You could see their armor cracking. Jacques admitted he'd once dreamed of building schools in his village, Pierre, a hospital for his hometown. She turned back to them and said, Mr. Harrison's dream is just like yours. Some dreams are too important to let fail. Silence. Then Jacques stood, dignity and emotion tangled in his voice, and announced they would invest $200 million, only 20% equity. For times what I'd hoped for. The room spun, and for the first time all day, I was speechless. But there was a catch. They wanted Sophie to be the youth ambassador for the project, to speak publicly about why this mattered, to help us show the world that this technology had a human heart. They even established a full scholarship for her, from grade school through university, in any country she chose. When her father arrived, still wearing his work clothes, you should have seen his face: shock, pride, love, all at once. It took a minute to sink in, but when Sophie hugged him and said, Mama always said God uses the smallest people for the biggest things, I think every adult in the room realized we just witnessed something once in a lifetime. The story went viral: media, interviews, all the noise you'd expect. And that's when the twist hit. A woman showed up, elegant and determined, saying her name was Catherine Dubosi. Turned out, Sophie's mother wasn't just from Quebec. She was the estranged daughter of a French business dynasty, the Dubosi family. Sophie, this child of humble means, was heir to a $50 million estate, including a hospital in Lyon that needed exactly the kind of technology we were building. Her family had been searching for her for years. I'll never forget the look on her father's face as the truth landed. Sophie wasn't just a translator or an ambassador. She was the missing bridge between worlds. Now, the stakes were higher than ever. We faced a media circus, privacy threats, the challenge of protecting a child who only wanted to help others. But the mission grew bigger. With Sophie's inheritance, we planned the world's first AI-driven children's hospital, a model for global pediatric care. Sophie, still grounded as ever, just asked, can we make sure the nurses give extra hugs to kids without mamas? Out of the mouths of babes, right? 6 months later, Sophie stood on stage at the grand opening of the Dubosi Children's Hospital. Her voice clear, switching effortlessly between French and English, telling a room of doctors, investors, and journalists that real miracles happen when people use their gifts to help others, not just themselves. She pointed to the AI system's early results: lives saved, families kept whole. And then she said, if anyone ever tells you you're too small to make a big difference, just remember, I was 7 when I helped change the world. As I sat in that audience, watching her father wipe tears from his eyes, seeing families and doctors listening like their lives depended on every word, I understood that this story wasn't really about money or technology or business at all. It was about love, purpose, and the courage to chase impossible dreams. And you know what? Maybe, just maybe, that's what real power looks like. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think I did the right thing trusting a child with everything on the line? Was it fate, luck, or something greater that put Sophie in that hallway when I needed her most? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about what's right, what's fair, and whether the smallest voices sometimes have the biggest impact in our world.